Can you hear us? We can't hear
Can't hear
you.
you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No,
Oh, I'm not muted.
still can't hear you. We see that you reported, but it's just easier. It's like one of those like logistical
How about
things.
now?
Yeah.
Can you all hear me now? No?
Check and see, maybe it's on.
Okay. Welcome to the Radio Public Art Review Board of July 12th, 2023. The time is 6:07 p.m. I invite Becky to call roll.
All right, thank you. Member Kabloski,
Here.
Member Merritt,
Here.
Member Sandoval,
Here.
Chair Schaufler,
Here.
and Member Zhao.
Here.
Great, thank you.
And then I'll invite Becky to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
All right, good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through Zoom or by telephone. If you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raised hand if you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you're unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
Great, thank you, Becky. I'd like to call to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2022. Does this mean 2023?
I think it should be 2023.
I'm gonna say 2023. So can I get a motion to approve? I move to approve the meetings minutes. In a second? I second that. All in favor? Yeah. Is there a roll call or? Oh, I don't have to do a roll call. Roll call.
I'll take a roll call. Thank you. Okay, Member Kabloski,
Aye. Yes.
Member Merritt,
Yes.
Member Sandoval,
Abstain.
Chair Schaufler,
Yes.
and Member Zhao.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
So now we have, do we want to open time for public expression now? Public is welcome to address the board
Yeah,
at
sorry,
this
if it's
time.
not on, if it's not on yours, this would be the appropriate time.
Okay, great.
for public expression, yeah.
The public is welcome to address the board at this time on matters not listed on the agenda that are within its jurisdiction. Comments may be no longer than 3 minutes and should be respectful to the community.
We do not have any attendees online. I don't know if you have anyone there in the room.
Not yet.
Okay.
So if at this time, I'd like to close public comment. And I'd request staff to respond to questions raised during public comment, but there were none. So none. Special presentations, we are having one, but
We are, and I mentioned before the meeting started that the presenter mentioned they're running a couple minutes late.
Oh.
So they're on their way here, and so we're gonna give them I think about 6:15 is when they said they should arrive. So what I recommend is maybe if Chair Schaufler, if you'd like to just skip to, the items number 4 and number 5, if you go and cover that business now, and then come back to item number 3 when they arrive.
sure, great. So then the staff liaison report, is that you,
Yeah.
Craig?
That is me, so thanks to all of you for being here, really appreciate it. It's good to see you all. Hope you're having a great summer so far. So since we last met in May, I believe was our last meeting, we had a proposal in May for the Canal Arts mural proposal, and I just wanted to give you all a little update on what's been happening since that last meeting, because some of you might have said, well, hey, there's no mural up there yet. So I just want to make sure that you're in the loop on what's going on. We are making some progress on that mural project. I've continued to meet with the Canal Arts. There are 2 things that we're still waiting on to bring that item to City Council for final approval. It has not yet gone to City Council. The first thing that we're working on is after we met in May, our Department of Public Works identified, and we actually may have identified this right before the meeting, that there was potential maintenance concerns with the wall in the building. We're still trying to work through that process to scope that project out and understand what extent of repairs are needed. The last update I received was last week. I think they were working to get a quote from a contractor sometime in the next couple of weeks to hopefully schedule that work to be done as soon as possible. It's taken a little time to get to that point. I think we really want to make sure that we fully evaluate that scope of work before we put it in the law. We don't want that to, be painted and then have to go in and do additional work after that. So that is one thing that we're still working on. The other item that we're requesting from the group is for a letter of support from the Federated Indians of Grand Rancheria. Essentially, we want to make sure that the Coast Miwok tribal members have seen this and they've had a chance to review the artwork and that they're supportive of the representation that's on that artwork. The group's actively working on that. I just had a meeting with one of the leads, Rich Sorick, on that today. We're going to be meeting with one of the group representatives who had some car trouble. So unfortunately, we didn't quite get there today, but we're hopeful we'll have a couple of our meetings on the books soon and be able to get that support. Or if there's changes that need to be made, be able to take that into consideration for the artwork. So once that second item has been completed, the city's prepared to take that to city council, get that on the agenda, and then continue to proceed from there, knowing that there will be some potential limitations with like the schedule of the construction work and some repair work. So I don't have a specific date yet. We're definitely going to keep you all posted, but we're moving forward. So the other item that we discussed at the last meeting was the Falkirk Park exhibit review process. So Christina Farhang, who is the coordinator there, is in the process of drafting that RFP. We're hoping to get that out by the end of this month for a call for artists. And we're optimistic that we'll be bringing you in October, hopefully some exhibits to review and hopefully give your approval on. So we'll keep you posted on that process. I think also since we last spoke, the Downtown San Rafael Art District, the city's a partner, kind of a member of this group called the DSRAD. They received the California Art Council Grant Award. And so that's a 3-year award and a 5-year recertification of the Downtown San Rafael Art District. So that group right now, they're in active conversations about what that scope of work will look like, how that grant funding be utilized. And I'm really excited about that. I think that that's just a really great win for San Rafael, and kudos to the group that's been working on that. They've put years of effort and work into getting to this point. And it's really great to see that pay off. This is one-time funding, but there's also great conversations going on statewide about how to advocate for longer-term funding, ongoing funding. And so I'm really excited to see where some of those conversations. And then one of the other projects I just wanted to keep you all in the loop on is that as we've started this public art review process, we've realized that we don't have a catalog, an inventory of places that are public facilities or buildings that we've identified that may be suitable for public art. So that's one of the things that we're working on, is trying to identify, well, where would we want to exhibit public art? How would we distinguish that location from other places? And what are some of the reasons why we might want to say, well, this is a good spot for public art, this might not be a suitable spot for public art. I've been working with our public works department to start to identify some locations that we think are really viable right now. Great candidates for projects. We have a couple in mind. They've done some recent capital improvements, some street work, like 2nd and 3rd Street. You see some of the construction happening there. There's some really nice retaining walls that might be really great for public art, and we would love to talk about how can we identify those early, maybe do an RFP process where we can put that call for artists out and see if someone's interested in potentially utilizing some of these really great canvases. So that's going to be ongoing. That's going to be one of those things that's probably just perpetual work that we're doing, but we're starting to look at that now. Just want to make sure you're ready on all of that. And then I also shared in that staff liaison report in the agenda packet, there's a whole bunch of events happening. It is summertime. There's a lot happening in San Rafael. If you don't have, you might not have it in front of you, but it's in the packet. City council meetings are happening. We have the San Rafael Summer Market, Second Fridays, Dining Under the Lights, the Second Friday Art Walk, West End Block Parties. Moving into August, we're going to be starting our Movie in the Park series. So August 25th, our first movie will be at Crystal Park. September 8th, we'll have a movie at Peacock Gap Park. September 22nd at Pickleweed Park. And then October 8th, we'll wrap that up with a movie at Carolyn Charm. So real excited about some of the things happening throughout the summer. I'll leave it at that. I think those are the kind of key things I wanted to make sure that you were aware of, since our last meeting.
Great, thanks. Just out of curiosity, in the last meeting, the fall art review process, we talked about, you asked for like ideas and such. Did they just, was it what we had given them in that meeting that they're kind of mulling over, or were we supposed to submit anything?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Now I'm forgetting her name you just said.
Christina.
Christina.
Yeah,
Had, when she gave her presentation, she asked for ideas. Remember, we all kind of came up with some ad hoc ideas of shows and exhibitions that we
Yeah.
thought might be interesting. I'm just curious how that information was like essentially processed, or were we supposed to submit our ideas in writing, that kind of thing?
so I think what she's working at right now is kind of this structure for how we would do a call for artists. And I think that we would be open to all kinds of ideas for what kind of exhibits would be presented as an option.
Right.
And then depending on what it comes our way, we'd be bringing that to you to say, well, what would be suitable for display in Falkirk in regards to those specific ideas. I think we're open to all of those. I think that she has been processing that information that was shared in the meeting, and we've been talking about, what does the city want to see and how we utilize this space. We would really love to turn that over to you. Our long-term goal is that we have just this like huge list of people that want to exhibit, and it's competitive, and that we're able to bring you, 5 or 6 choices for one exhibit slot. And then you would be able to then determine, well, this seems like it rounds out the portfolio in a nice way. We've got youth art, adult art, 3D, 2D, all these different types that we can bring to the community. We're just not there yet. We don't have that demand for exhibit space right now. So I think until we get that demand, it's hard for me to say to Christina, oh, we want that particular exhibit idea or this particular exhibit idea. That being said, we know we have to actively go out and recruit and bring people in. So I think all the ideas you shared, she's been out there actively kind of interacting with the community, trying to bring some of those.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was follow-up work on our end.
I think I would be open to that. I think, if the board here is interested in, pursuing some more of those ideas, might be interested in like a subcommittee that wanted to help support Falkirk and generate some ideas of what we might be able to do to improve that outreach. And we'd be open to that.
Great. Okay, thank you. I just want to invite questions and answers from the committee. Staff. Anybody? And do we still, Becky, do we still have no one on for public comment, or Cheryl, do you have public comment? Nope, that sounds good to me.
And no, we don't have any attendees at this time.
Then I will close public comment. Thank you.
Hello, hi, can I sit? Where can I sit?
Anyways, fine.
So then I think we'll just skip back to Cheryl's presentation. Which was, it says none, but there is a special presentation from Cheryl Bus. Yeah. Oh, here,
Number
other
3.
agenda items. Yes, approval of fair housing for all children's art exhibit proposal. So, Cheryl, do you want to just?
I would just do it.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, and then I'll introduce you, Cheryl. So just maybe, and just for the record too, Alexis Kapkanian is here for community development, and feel free, Alexis, to jump in if there's anything that you'd like to add about the process, but so just to give you a little bit of context about this proposal that's come our way, Alexis came to me and shared that she'd been working with this group for a while on this project and had the idea that, this might be a really great art exhibit to go downtown in City Hall. And we talked about, well, should this go through the Public Art Review Board? Is this a departmental decision? And I think, we're excited about bringing this forward in this way because I think it really helps to acknowledge the amount of work that's gone into this, as well as the really the great artwork that's being brought forward to you. I would love to recognize the artists, acknowledge that, as well as everyone who's partnered on this project. And also because this is a public facing location. And we had conversations about that on a city level, like how do we want to handle requests like this that come our way? And this is exactly why you're here, to guide us on whether this is a suitable exhibit to display in this public location. So that was kind of the impetus for this. They developed a proposal, which we received. We gave some initial feedback, kind of went back and forth for a couple of weeks, and they have a final proposal, which has been shared in the agenda packet. And so Cheryl's gonna share some additional information with you, share a proposal, hopefully answer any questions that you have, but I just wanted to say that on a staff level, we are very supportive of this proposal. We think that this is a really great representation of art. It really does a good job of capturing some of the key things we want to see with public art displays in city buildings. And so we're very supportive of this. But if you have questions, comments, concerns, definitely this is the great forum to bring it forward and hear more. So on that, I think I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
Okay, great. Hi, I know one person here and I know you. So anyway, I'm Cheryl Buss and I'm from the University of California, Berkeley, and also from Youth and Arts. And I did put together a slideshow. I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
that up.
would you like me to-
I'm just going to show you some of the process, but I have been working for 25 plus years engaging young people in architecture, urban planning, civic activism in the public schools primarily, but also in informal learning situations. And for the past 7 years, I've been collaborating with Youth and Arts through UC Berkeley's Y Plan, which stands for Youth Plan, Learn, Act Now, Y Plan. And we've been engaging students primarily at Laurel Dale Elementary in the city in challenges that are architecture and urban planning based, but we're always taking on a project or a problem that's in our local community, in the San Rafael community. So this year we, and the students go through a whole process. I'll share a little bit of that with you, but this year we took on a challenge in collaboration with HUD's Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity. And that's where you got involved, because we realized when we went to the housing element working committees, some of their meetings, when Alexis was giving a presentation, you were talking about the commitment that San Rafael has to fair housing and how your goals overlap with the HUD goals so much. So a lawyer from HUD came to us and said, could we be your client this year? Could we be the people that your children meet with and they can take on a challenge that we have? So I'll introduce you to a little bit of our process, and this should take about 6 minutes. And then we just have a proposal for displaying some of the student work in City Hall, thanks to Alexis. So anyway, the theme of this year is Choices for All Voices, which is the official HUD name for their year this year. And it's about fair housing for all. We did a project with 50 third graders at Laurel Dale Elementary School. And we had a 15-week residency where we introduced the students to skills and principles and concepts in architecture and planning, all of which led to taking on this real world challenge that I'm going to share with you in a minute. But every year they make models, they make maps, they make drawings, and they really apply their creativity and verve to the challenges that we issue to them. So these are some of the students that are in the third grade. Next one. And so this year, our real world challenge from HUD was the lawyer that offered us the challenge is Catherine Ross Perry. And she's the Western Regional Director of the enforcement of fair housing, all the fair housing laws, which grew out of the Fair Housing Act in 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson. So here we are, many years later, still enforcing that law that was enacted then. So the challenge that the students got was, how can we inform our communities about housing fairness laws that protect people from discrimination based upon race, color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, and ability? That's a lot to introduce to third graders, but we scaffolded it in such a way that it was something that they could really embrace pretty easily. So next one. So again, like I said, there's a lot of skill building that goes on prior to even taking on the challenge. So the students did a series of projects about scale and structure and measuring and sustainability. And they applied those skills both to augment and amplify their academic curriculum, whether it would be math or social studies, a lot of public presentation, a lot of oral representation, a lot of writing, a lot of creating. Next one. And to start off, to set the table for the HUD challenge, every year we actually give them the opportunity to make tree houses. So they actually make little model tree houses. And so these are the students making their treehouse village. They did not know what the HUD challenge was yet. So each group of students in teams of 3 built these little model tree houses. that they loved and adored. They put all of their heart and energy into imagining living in these tree houses. And once they had these tree houses, we actually challenged them to make them sustainable. So they had to capture the rainwater and clean the rainwater and reuse the rainwater. They had to grow their own food. They had to harness the energy of the wind and the rain and the sun, and integrate all of those features into their tree houses. So next one. So there they are. Then our HUD clients came to them, and these are 3 people from HUD that came into all 50, they had all 50 third graders there, and they introduced the challenge, and they said, how can you turn your treehouse village that you have here with all these tree houses in the room? How can you turn that into a fair housing community? And that's when, can you scroll it up a little bit further? So they actually talked about what lawyers do, which was very exciting to the kids. Are you guys the lawyers? And what do you do? How much money do you make? Did Obama have to be a lawyer? So the lawyers were not prepared for any of the questions. They said we had a whole bunch of questions ready to answer about fair housing, but no, they wanted to know how much money you make. Anyway, but they issued the challenge. At this moment, they gave them that question, and the students could ask questions about it. One kid, Pepe Gonzalez, who happened to be the former principal of the school, his son raised his hand and said, what does HUD stand for? He was the only kid that thought that that was an acronym, and so they got to introduce that. So next one. Then the students, the very first challenge they had was draw a picture of your treehouse. So every team that had a treehouse had to do an observational drawing of their treehouse as it was. And then each team got one of the protected classes. So we had race, color, religion, etc. Each team had that. And then they had to make a statement of how their treehouse village welcomed that group of people. So for example, the color group, I don't think I can quite read it, but we welcome people no matter what color is the color of your skin. This was around gender and gender identity and gender, you know, how you look, male or female. I was really worried about the word sex because that's in the legal thing. But the kids are too young to have been excited by that word. They just understood that it meant how you dress, how you look, you know, who you love and all that. And they were, so they made these beautiful posters about the 7 different classes of protected people. If you can scroll it up just a teeny bit more, they had phrases, and I love what the ability team, that was the team that invited people depending upon their abilities, whether they were blind or hearing impaired or mobility impaired. And they said on their message, it said, no matter if you're disabled or not, our treehouse welcomes everybody and we are always open to love. So their messages are very affirmative and very positive. And we had 7 of these posters. Next one. But then they then presented to the HUD team. They got up and actually had to present their not only their drawings and a little bit about their collaborative process, but also what their message was. So they presented their posters, and we did a lot of presenting. And just a little side story. One girl, one of the very shyest girls, and had never spoken up with Pete, actually raised her hand and said, my family or my aunt is in a situation where she's being discriminated against because of the number of people in their family. And I'm really scared, and our family's really scared. And everybody was like, the fact that she spoke up and the fact that she spoke up about that with such courage. And so she met afterwards with the HUD people, and they gave her some resources to, you know, pursue and find out. I'm not sure whatever happened, but I'll get to that. But that's part of the intention, is how to educate the community about situations just like that. So next one. Well, look who's here. We had a desk, what we call desk crits, where as the students were developing their work, they started taking their posters and then translating that into some site plans for a community and some little models of a community. And we invited, she's from HUD, that's Miss Ross Perry, the lead lawyer from HUD, and then Alexis, who's the housing analyst from San Antonio. You can speak after I speak and say something. Anyway, they gave them desk crits to remind them, because sometimes the kids got caught up in, we have a swing in our backyard, you know, they got caught up in some of those things. And they reminded them, what about your protected class of people? These are people who are disabled. How are they getting up in that building, et cetera, et cetera. So you guys were great to have you in, being a good reality check and helping push their work along. So they have a lot of gravitas. Next one. So that's when they, so as you guys came in to critique them, they made site plans of a little, each group of students had one of the protected classes of people again, and they actually made a site plan of a small community that would have housing for 10 families and have some amenities and resources, places to get around. They had to make a site plan and then make a little model of that particular community. Then we put them all together, next slide, into a quilt, a giant quilt that had the 9 different, well, it had all the protected groups of people and then a couple other messages in it. But it formed like a fair housing, large community that welcomed all those people. And then they took a couple pictures of their posters as well. But again, it was on that theme of choices for all voices. Next one. And this is just presentation. They presented those models to, I don't think they presented it to you, they presented to various people, their parents and some other people that came in from Youth and Arts. Next one. Then they still hadn't gone far enough. We challenged them to write a children's book that HUD could use, educating people about fair housing laws, who the protected classes of people are and why and how, what discrimination is. So they worked again in teams of 3. They had to shift groups. So if they were on the race group, then they had to move to the religion group. If they were on the familial family status group, then they had to maybe move to the ability group. And then they worked in teams and they made storyboards of what their story was. And each story had to be what their protected group was, what a challenge was, how they were being discriminated against, and how they got help, or where they went for redress or, assistance in dealing with that challenge. So they made up storyboards and, in this case, our protected group is race and what challenge or problem is hurting this group. It says the owner won't sell to Asians. So that was sort of what their story was. And they sort of mocked it up as a story. And next one. Then they translated that. This is the hardest thing for us. They translated that into collage. And so each team made a 3-page chapter that had the protected group, the challenge, and where they went to resolve that challenge or to meet that challenge. So this is them putting together their collage things. It's really hard to make people in collage. I'll tell you that right now. I may never take that on again. But they did it. We had a victory. So next one. So this is the final book, and I actually brought you a copy of the book just so you could see it. I'll pass it around in a minute. But I haven't put it all together yet, but each chapter is 3 pages long, and this is what the collage part looks like. So we had 2 classes. So each class made a book this long, 26-page book. One of them is on display right now at Youth and Arts, and this is the other one. Next one. Then we also fortunately had 6 students who volunteered to be on the writing team. So they came in during lunchtime and actually composed their thoughts about what fair housing means, what discrimination means, who the protected groups are, where to go to get help. And I helped them put that together into an op-ed piece that was published in the Marin Independent Journal. There's the website right there if you want to go read it sometime. Can you scroll up a teeny bit more? So that was published in the IJ in April, and it's also an adaptation of that article on the UC Berkeley Center for Cities and Schools, which is where White Plan was housed site at Berkeley. And also it's on HUD website. And those are the 3 places right now, but it may go further than that. HUD is doing some kind of big presentation in August. They're putting together a video. I gave them all the photos and everything. They're putting together a video about this. So next one. So thanks to your invitation to put the work up at City Hall, which we hadn't really thought about that. And we knew it was going to go on display at Youth and Arts. We knew HUD was going to use it as part of their outreach materials. You invited me to look at the space. I said, oh yeah, we can design something that will fit in this space. And then we found out we had to go through this process. So then I was like, okay, it's not really permanent. It's not really that public. But anyway, I'm glad I did because we had to get my act together and put together a proposal. So this is just sort of a mock-up of what it would be like. And then you can just pass that around. There's sort of a color version. But again, it's featuring the book, which would be projected, sort of in a 3D way, the site plans, the posters, and then on the easel would be that one of those models, the quilt model. And there would be some interpretation, and there would also be, if you allow it, information for people who are experiencing housing discrimination in English and Spanish, because that's the whole point of HUD. It's like how to get this information out to the community that you might be discriminated against because of the kind of food you cook. You know, that people think it's too foreign, or it's too Asian, or it's too whatever, or, you know, there's certain things that are part of the law that people just aren't aware of, and they do not know where to go to get help. So that we would put that up as part of this, and we did that at Youth and Arts. We made a little wrap that has the English and Spanish information about that. Let me tell you, work with lawyers. Every little word has to be perfect. Can you change that and to an or? Okay. Anyway, so that's our proposal, and hopefully, I know that you're Craig, aren't you? Yeah.
I'm super.
Craig was wondering about how are you gonna fix it to the wall and everything. I think we'll make it as a freestanding, so we don't have to worry about the walls. We put her on black gator board, or probably not white, but black gator board, so it'll pop out. And it'll be affixed to that, so that either that'll be like a sawtooth thing, or if we need to, ADA rules require that we push it right up against the wall, we'll do that. But I think that that eliminates any worry about holes in the wall. So I don't know, Alexis, do you want to say anything? Morgan, you could say something, and Craig, you guys could say something to, you know, in support or challenge, whatever you want to do, but that's kind of how it is. Don't pass the book around so you can take a look at pull out a chapter if you want, just to see how much work the kids put into this book.
Sure, and I will just say that we recently finished our housing element, which is our 8-year plan for the city related to housing. It just got certified by the state, and we have 4 overarching goals, one of which is focused on fair housing, and there's an educational component in there. And so the questions that the students got from HUD of how do you educate the community about fair housing, we have the same, you know, we're working on the same question. And so I really fell in love with the project and the students' work, and feel like it would be an incredible way to educate the community and everybody who walks up to the 3rd floor of City Hall about fair housing.
They fell in love with you too. You were extremely helpful to them and extremely supportive. It was really great.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna add too, so I think the on our level in regards to what I would be concerned about with the proposal are things like maintenance, making sure that we had our license agreement signed, which Youth and Arts has agreed to sign our license agreement. This would be a temporary exhibit, so it's one of the things I did want to clarify, and that distinction is important because temporary exhibits of less than 1 year, you as the Public Art Review Board have full authority to approve. This would not need to go to City Council for any additional review. So if you chose to approve this evening, then you would move pretty quickly, I think, to establish a timeline for when it would be installed. And I think we were thinking about a 3-month period of time. So it's still 2 to 3 months, somewhere in that range is what we're thinking about. In regards to fixing the walls, I mean, those are some of the things I did run this by our Public Works Department just to make sure that they had a chance to chime in. Since it would be freestanding and wouldn't have any impact on the facility itself, there were no significant concerns from our Public Works Department. I do think we just want to make sure that we have accessible pathways. So when we install, I think those are things that can be worked out in real time during the installation, given the materials that you're working with here.
Like, for example, if we do it in the staircase, we might do it in, you know, segments, you know, going up the staircase. Right. We'll see. And if we end up doing it in the lobby, it would just be, you know, behind the couches and chairs. So yeah, we will definitely work it through ADA. And then I'm the indentured maintenance person, which I live fortunately 5 minutes from City Hall, so it's not a big deal. You can call me. I'll put you on your speed dial. You go, a piece just fell down. Come up. Oh, here's the let me see. You guys all speak English. This is what HUD wants. How the information HUD wants the information to get disseminated. You could break that up if you want to each have your own version of it, but
Does anyone?
what? Yeah. Did you want to say anything else, Morgan?
Oh, no, I mean, I always love projects. Yeah, as you said, we've been working together for 7, 8 years on this project. And every year they address the real world problem. As you said, so this is fair housing. They've dealt with sea level rise.
The housing element,
specifically.
last year they worked on the
The
housing.
housing element, I mean, and it always is just really incredible, I will say the creativity of the students and the way they come up with ideas that maybe even adults hadn't necessarily thought of, so. I think it's wonderful, and I think it would be a wonderful addition to City Hall. My only question would be is how do we invite the community in to see it? You know, I know City Hall is a public building, but I don't know that anyone just kind of cruises in. I mean, I go there a lot, but I don't know that a lot of people do. So I just wonder if there's an opportunity to have some sort of like announcement or public reception of some kind.
Yeah, I think we could definitely talk about that, and maybe Alexis, that's something we could put our heads together on a little bit later. If this was approved and talk about what would make sense. In regards to public access, you're right, it is a public building. Anyone can walk in at any point in time if they wanted to. I think most of the foot traffic that we get up that stairwell is if people are coming up to community development. If they're coming up for permit questions or things of that nature, they would be coming up and down. So that's probably naturally who's going to be coming up. And maybe there's some, direct correlation between people who need to see this information and who might be going up to visit community development. But I do think that there's opportunities. So if you have any suggestions in that regard of what we might want to do kind of like a kickoff exhibit launch or anything of that nature,
I think that'd be
opening
nice.
night,
Some sort of reception.
invite some of the artists to be there as well.
So where be you in the open area or in a room or?
Yeah, and I apologize, I meant to maybe pull a couple photos or images of the stairwell, but if you haven't been to City Hall, when you walk in. Kind of the main doors, there is a stairwell to go up to, technically, when you walk in, you walk up some steps. There's a first floor,
Yeah.
which is like the lower floor, and the second floor, which is the main floor, and then the third floor, which is where our community development department is. When you walk up from the second to the third floor, there's a stairwell. And the proposal is that this artwork would be placed in that stairwell and in the lobby to the community development department. And so I don't know exactly where it would be placed. I think that'd be one of those things where as you get up there and start to place things, you place it where it logically makes sense, where it would have high visibility, and it wouldn't be impeding on foot traffic.
Just out of curiosity, wouldn't that be a bit discriminatory against people that don't walk upstairs?
Great, that's a great point. And these are the types of questions that are important to come up. And one of the last things I was going to share in regards to the criteria are, how does this art tie in with the diversity of the community, the design that you're looking at? These are the types of questions definitely that we want you to bring forward. So that's a good question.
I have a couple of questions.
great.
I think the project is fantastic. I think it's a great idea. I love the, getting kids to think about real things. So, I'm all for the project. I have a couple of thoughts. One, I worry about the art being out in public, and getting damaged. So I think when you do the gator boards or whatever, I recommend you put like a sheet of plastic or some film or something over it, because they could get accidentally knocked, some kid could grab it. You just want to protect this, right? These are your originals. So I would protect that. And I think that maybe the main lobby is better. When you walk in those steps, you've got that big open area. That's where I go. That's where my board meetings are. And I think that more people are going to see it. And there's a chance for happenstance viewing, where if you put it up those stairs, for one thing, it's a little bit tight. And like you said, there's ADA issues as well. So I would recommend doing it down there. And the third thing is, I wonder if the website of the city could have like a place where you could, find hidden art in our city, and you could list the area. So somebody I'm always looking for something interesting to do. And so, I might go to a site like that and be able to find, like, here's a map of 4 art projects in the city that you might want to see. And I think that's all I have, but I do think it's fantastic. great ideas.
Yeah. Scavenger art, scavengers. Right. Does anyone else have some comments, questions?
Or maybe put in the second slide, artwork.
Oh, yeah, that's an idea. If
Yeah,
the city
yeah.
hall would be open that late, I don't know what the.
Oh, that's why I was asking which area will be, so if you put in the art, well, maybe people probably walk down there and say, oh, let's see what.
Anyone else? One other comment I'll make is that we do have the same thing, this book, but a different classes amongst many other things that Cheryl and has worked on. They're wonderful in the Youth and Arts Gallery.
Yes, the tree houses are down there.
Yes, they're so great. And there is a reception during Art Walk on Friday. So if anyone wants to come see them, the more expansive work, I would encourage you to come. It's from 4 to 7.
Oh, it's earlier than that. I think it's 5.
Yeah, but we start a little early because we have kids coming.
Chair Shopler, if I could speak a couple comments
Yep.
about, or respond to maybe a couple of
Yep.
comments here. One of the things I was thinking about is that there is elevator access to the second floor. So I read the third floor and I wonder, if that's correct, right, that the elevators
Yes.
can drop you off right in the lobby up there.
There
And I
is.
wonder if the artwork could be contained to that lobby area upstairs, because that I think would maybe respond to one of the comments, but I definitely wanted to acknowledge your thoughts that maybe the main lobby of City Hall would be an option. I don't know whether that would be an option or not in regard, I think that would change some of the conversation around, maybe maintenance or fixing to the wall or where it would be standing. I think we'd have to consider that and circle back around with as internal staff to review whether that would be a suitable location. But I'd be more than happy to raise that as an option. I think that, as you're considering what to recommend here this evening, if you wanted to recommend that as an option and direct staff to maybe explore that, we'd be more than happy to explore that as an option. And in regard to the Second Friday Art Walk, I think that's something we could talk about. We participate in Second Friday Art Walk frequently at Falkirk. There would be some staff time associated with opening up the building, having someone there to monitor if people are coming in. But I think if that were coordinated along with maybe an opening or something of that nature, or some kind of a celebration, I think that's a possibility.
Okay, and anybody have any other questions, comments? Cheryl, did you want to add anything else?
I was just thinking if that ends up happening, maybe, I forget when school starts, like mid-August or something, it'd be nice
23rd.
to overlap, thank you, when it overlap when kids are back in school, because then we could get the young people and their parents there, which would be, some of them and their parents, which there's pretty good participation in those kind of things, so once the kids are there, the parents come. So that would be cool, if we figure something out. We have to figure all the mechanics out. Would I be working with you or you two together? Okay, let's figure all that out. Well, but thank you for that recommendation to do it down in.
I had an idea, where there's that information desk
Yeah.
that nobody uses, it could be there, and then it's up off the ground, so no one's gonna accidentally kick it or knock it over, or take their wheelchair into it. And it could be set back a little bit, so you'd have a little protection, and it'd be up higher, so people can see better.
Well, we certainly could adapt it to some, it doesn't have to be that particular configuration. It would be that content, but in a different configuration, with different conditions.
In the lobby, it's brick walls. Is that a concern?
No, I think that's part of it. I would just want to make sure that we talked about it internally to make sure that that's a suitable location. But I think it's a great idea, and that's definitely one I'd be well concerned.
Okay.
Hey, in my experience with you over the last 2 weeks, you can make things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really cool, because I thought, I'm gonna have, where do I email it? What do I do? And you just like walked me through the process. It was really, thank you very much.
That's what we want. We
It
want.
got me here. Yeah, that was really good. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
I do have one tangential question.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a copy of that presentation?
Sure.
Because my husband is an executive in urban development, and I feel like he will lose his mind. Like he will love this so much, and I'm not going to be able to present it.
Well, Greg has it. Yeah.
If you're okay with me forwarding that along, I'd be happy to forward that right back.
Here's the PDF. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
I mean, it's not as artful as I might have made it. I had to make it pretty quick, but
Did a great job.
it's okay. Yeah, it shows the kids. That's the main thing. It shows the process and it explains the process. So Great, well,
Great.
you guys, I don't,
Yeah,
you
we have,
just let me know if it gets approved or not, and
Sure.
I'm gonna collect the artwork back up from
yeah,
y'all.
please.
But thank you
If
so much.
people want to, Cheryl, I think they might be able to make that recommendation one way or another right now, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna.
Well, I didn't know.
And
Well,
Becky-
no, or-
Thank you.
Becky, I'm just making sure there's still no public attending this meeting.
No, we do not have any attendees.
No gadflies.
So then I will close public comment. Because there's no public comment. I'll request a motion and a second to accept the approval of the children's art exhibition proposal. Someone want a motion? A motion to approve. I'll second. Great. And then Becky, would you like to call roll, please?
Well, can you tell me who seconded? I didn't quite catch that. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Member Kovlowski,
Yes.
Member Merritt,
Yes.
Member Sandoval,
Yes.
Chair Schaufler,
Yes.
and Member Zhao.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion approved.
Choose on the answer. Now, Craig, you mentioned that we could make a recommendation for it to be exhibited in the lobby and to have a public reception. Is that just saying it, or do we need to make some sort of formal recommendation?
I think that if that's the recommendation you wanted to make, that's kind of what I heard, but
Yeah.
if that's what I'm hearing, that is the recommendation you'd like to make, I think that's something we'll go back explore.
Okay.
We'll go back and explore, and then we can work with Cheryl to find a suitable location somewhere in City Hall, either the main lobby or maybe the third floor. Keep playing a second floor, the third floor lobby, depending on what's going to work for us.
And I hope Alexis could be deeply involved. This is her idea. The whole thing is her idea. And so I want your, imprimatur on whatever decisions we make.
I would be really excited for this to be in the main lobby. I didn't originally suggest it because I didn't originally think of the public art review board, so I was thinking of our domain, which is up on the third floor, but I would love for there to be more traffic if it's a possibility. So I think we'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, I think it's like my only hesitancy here is just simply because it had not been assessed as one of the
Right.
options. It wasn't something that we brought forward as part of our staff internal review. And that ties directly into what I shared in my report earlier, that we just haven't done that full assessment of where are these locations, what are the considerations we need to make on a staff level before we were to exhibit any art there. What a great opportunity for us to start with, the lobby of City Hall. So great location.
I can think of a couple of downsides to the third floor lobby. There's a lot of egress and access, like elevator, the doors, the stair. There's not going to be, and if you're not hanging it on the wall, there's not going to be that much floor space.
Yeah, wonderful points. We will take that recommendation, we'll explore it and move forward.
Sounds good.
Okay. Cheryl, you're welcome to stay, but you have done your job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you again for being such a great partner, and for you for walking me through this process, and Morgan, as always, thank
Oh,
you.
it's not.
You wore two hats
here.
tonight.
That's true.
And thank you all for your attention and support.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks so much.
This is not the end of your partnership with us.
No, I'm gonna be there. Set it up with you. All right, bye, Cheryl.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to I think it's the board member reports. The board members offer brief reports on any meetings, conferences, and or seminars attended.
I have one.
Great.
Coming up next week, Northgate Mall is coming before the design review board. And then, so there's a lot of documentation on the city website. And if you can't find it, I'm sure Craig can help you locate it in. We're interested in everyone's opinion. And this is an opportunity to be able to have your, and to read over to Stone Mountain. So that's next Wednesday at 6 in City Hall.
Great. It's been ongoing for a long time.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it can be, anything can be better than what I currently do.
So we're working on better.
I attended the Downtown San Rafael Arts District meeting. We had sort of our first official meeting since we received the funding from the California Arts Council. It was a productive meeting. I'm in the process of deciding the best sort of way forward with regard to potentially starting a 501c3 to house the downtown Santa Fe Arts District, just because then it's sort of a separate entity. There are 6 stakeholders, so City of Santa Fe, who is the fiscal sponsor of the grant. Then we have Artworks Downtown, the Marin Society of Art for Artists, Youth and Arts, and California Film Institute. Nope, and the Business Improvement District. So we're just working through all that and hoping to establish 501c3, as I said, do a strategic plan and really get some things going, because we don't have that long to use the money. So we have to get some very exciting plans in the works, but it's all very positive and I'm excited for the future. Yeah. So that was good.
No,
Okay. Yeah. But I think that was my only one that pertains to what we do here. I mean, it will definitely be impacting, hopefully, more public art in Santa Fe and arts related events, etc. Anyone else have any reports? Thank you. And no public comment still, so I will close public comment. And if everyone, does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, then we can adjourn the meeting at 6:56.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks,
Very
everyone.
exciting.
Yeah.